A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Kanchi Shah, and I head the email business for Strategy. It gives me immense pleasure in welcoming you all to the Digital Dialogues, sponsored by Dell Technologies and Tech Data, presented by Strategy. Today's episode is themed around creating agile enterprises of tomorrow. Businesses are not only generating exponentially more data than they did a decade ago, but are also using it in many different ways. Most businesses have gone way beyond their need to simply store and protect data. They now need to access it, compare it, analyze it, share it, sell it, and move it fast and frequently. For the past several years, organizations have been moving data applications and development work to the cloud in greater numbers. A trend that has seen a substantial boost since the coronavirus pandemic triggered a rise in remote work and e commerce activities. More than ever, organizations are launching or expanding multi cloud strategies as they navigate through their digital transformation journeys and deal with new challenges and their impact on business processes. In store for you today, over the next 1.5 hours, we have immensely valuable business and technology insights and high impact conversations. We appreciate you taking time off your busy schedules to join us today and would request you to please address your questions to our speakers using the Q&A option on your screens. To kickstart today's session, I'd now like to welcome Ms. Parvati Jagannathan, Head of Business, Value Velocity, Tech Data. Over to you, Parvati.
Good morning. Hope all of you are doing well and you and your family are safe. I'm Parvati Jagannathan and I head the Value Velocity Endpoint Business for Tech Data India. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Digital Dialogue Episode 2. As most of you would know, Tech Data has been in IT distribution for over 45 years, connecting the world with the power of technology through you. Tech Data has always been known for the relationships that we have nurtured over the past 45 plus years with industry leading technology vendors and best in class solution providers. We are constantly expanding our end to end portfolio of products, services, and solutions in the next generation technologies surrounding MDC, security, cloud, analytics, and hybrid cloud, enabling channel partners to bring to market products, solutions, and opportunities the world needs to grow and advance. We are constantly expanding our capabilities, service levels, and offerings to become the go to hybrid cloud solutions aggregator. Tech Data and Dell are proud partners in the rapidly changing IT environment, and our relationship provides partners access to select Dell technologies, cloud ecosystem opportunities, and value in the digital transformation journeys that they undertake with Dell technologies. Do get in touch with your account manager from Tech Data for Dell cloud based ecosystem opportunities, potential, and roadmap. Thank you. Stay safe and healthy. Bye.
Thank you very much, Parvati, for setting the tone for today. That was indeed insightful. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we move forwards to our next segment, the digital dialogues. As organizations continue their digital transformation journeys, modernizing business processes and optimizing IT infrastructures, it's clear that cloud computing services, along with automation, orchestration, and data analytics, have become increasingly important. On the upcoming discussion focused on intelligent enterprises of tomorrow, we will hear insights from Mr. Shesh Parigi, Vice President and Global Head, Oracle, Consulting and Digital Service Line, Tech Mahindra. We're also joined by Mr. Prasanna Lohar, Head, Innovation and Architecture, DCB Bank. And to moderate our session, I'd welcome Mr. Arjun Vishwanathan, Chief Research Officer, Strategy. Over to you, Arjun.
Hello and welcome. I'm Arjun Vishwanathan and I will be your host today in what promises to be a fascinating set of conversations around the whole concept of how multi cloud orchestration is perhaps linearly proportional to organizations and industries' need for agility in operations, in speed to market, and perhaps the overhauling of complete supply chain systems uh, is what perhaps multi-cloud promises us today. While organizations train their focus, therefore, on creating agility, there's also a need to revamp and reimagine the traditional operating models that embrace rising complexities and maturity curves of technology. This constant need for responding to change, ladies and gentlemen, in the market or in consumer behavior will require recrafting of traditional methodologies that drive an enterprise wide adoption of the concepts of direction and velocity. And to talk to me about all of this and share and blend their perspectives to industrial resurgence, revival, and an acceleration of innovation and value, please put your hands together to welcome in no specific order Mr. Sesh Parigi, Global Head, Oracle and Cloud Transformation for Tech Mahindra. Sesh, welcome. Delighted that you could join us.
Yeah, thanks, Archie.
And Mr. Prasanna Lohar, Head Technology for Architecture, Innovation and Digital at DCB Bank. Prasanna, welcome. Equally delighted that you could join us.
Yeah, great. Hi, Arjun, and hi, Shesh. Looking forward for exciting discussion
No,
today.
indeed, gentlemen, we've got 30 minutes and I intend to pack as much as is possible into this because, Prasanna, I'm directly going to jump to you. The last
Yeah,
18 odd months, maybe 16 or 18 months of the disruption have pretty much mandated organizations to force a rethink of traditional business models and equally of the concepts of scale and agility and innovation. When you look at scale, agility, and innovation, Prasanna, what is your nuanced perspective, given your experience, around why organizations must perhaps focus on multi-cloud architecture and orchestration to drive increased value oriented via scale, agility, and innovation? Prasanna Lohar.
yeah. Thank you so much, Arjun, for this thoughtful question. Rather than this question has its own answers, right? Why scale agility is very, very important in 2021. If we have seen the life of customers or even employees or banks in 2019 and now, it is drastically changed. Okay, I think COVID or pandemic situation was a trigger for that. But what has happened in the last 15, 18 months, I think bankers and the top management of a bank or any of the staff who is serving to the customer, their behavior is changed towards how they are adopting the customer services or providing those customer services. And if you look at on the other side, customer is also changed. Customer was going to these managed data centers for entertainment. Say example, they were visiting cinema halls, right? And now automatically they are glued to this cloud-based or web-based or these digital-first Amazon's Primes or Netflix and so on. That's a behavior change. And now they are expecting similar kind of a experience or a services from these banks. Say example, I'm sitting at home as a customer. I want my account should be opened here and itself now, or I want all of these services available now. I really don't want to visit for my KYC at a branch, or I really don't want to do go to the ATM for a fund transfer or deposit and so on. So they want all those services around me at my merchants, and wherever I go, I want this payment adoption heavily. So I think if you for any organization, say example 2021, and if they look at their journey in next 5 years, I think every bank has or every organization has understood that power of technology is huge, right? Although we have seen less of adoption in 2010 till 2014, but after 2014 we have seen, I think, traditional technologies like mobility or better orchestration with enterprise service bus or API banking. It was there, right? But I think now with the 5G or IoT will come into picture in future, your customer augmentation or customer behavior will be altogether different. And this pandemic and the COVID era gives that trigger, customer behavior, how it changes, and how you should adopt or how you should help internal employees to go and serve the customers better instead of your traditional ways of searching around customer on field or collecting those document on field or and any of those physical operations, right? And more things are going cloud, and it's very important for any organization if they want to really provide immediate agile, as you rightly said, and with a better scale, right? They need to have a better architecture. Let's say example today, if at a DCB bank I don't have API banking or open banking, then I would have not done a video KYC or a digital first account opening process in the last year. So I would have waited for another 20 months and so on to do that whole exercise. So it is very important in 2021 what is going to come up, right? Cloud. You've spoken about multi-cloud. And as an organization, if I don't have a strategy or roadmap to adopt multi-cloud and how I'm going to deal with the other stakeholders in banking or other fintech companies who are already on cloud, right? Their journey starts with the cloud first. So I think as a process, as a regulation, or as a compliance, or as a IT security practices, or at the end, how customer is looking at a future banking or a current banking with a better and better. It's very important to adopt the right technology on time. If I adopt multi-cloud after 2 years, I think I'm gonna not gonna be successful.
Yeah, it
So
becomes existential as a problem, doesn't it? Because Prasanna, I thought that was extremely finely articulated. Because Seish, I'm going to come to you with the same concept. Prasanna basically established the fact that adoption of multi-cloud, Seish, is perhaps, if you were to take two steps back, one of the starting points of business modernization, apart from operating model modernization. Now, as organizations today move towards modernizing businesses, operating models, strategy, vision, and so on and so forth, one of the key pillars to drive hyper competitiveness, such that is needed as we speak today, is also innovation. In your view, Sesh, with the explosion of data coupled with the multi cloud orchestration, how do you see this getting coupled together to be able to drive and craft organizations into becoming more agile as well as hyper competitive?
So in this, in the post-pandemic, in particular, in general, otherwise, innovation is accelerating at a pace which we have never seen before. Due to one, from a technological perspective, that digital is driving the business, emergence of new business models, whether it could be B2B or B2C models, for which innovation is a key pillar at the back end of the whole engine. And the pace of innovation has increased, and the leading players in the industry, whether be it manufacturing or banking and financial services, and the emergence of new business platforms. So it's driving from being just a cloud-first company into more of a platform-driven economy, where it is a platform and the various players in the platform are playing a very critical. But if you take an example in the Indian market, let us say car manufacturing companies, whether it could be it could be say Tata's or it could be a Nissan. They're all emerging, or a Volvo. They're emerging more as a customer service organization rather than a manufacturing organization. This is because of the emergence of the new platforms driven by cloud technologies, the architecture of the backend, and also evolvement of a completely different new ecosystem of partner network, which has transformed automobile industry or manufacturing industry at large. And if you look at in particular truck manufacturing in Europe or in India, it's emerging very fast compared to what we had seen a couple of years back. So that is where the innovation is fueling the transformation of business models with underlying digital first technology. So in simple words, I would say the cloud transformation is triggering innovation at large, and none of the companies want to go through the Kodak click moment. So everybody has to transform themselves. They have to be ahead of the curve in order, from a business perspective. For that, they need to transform themselves. It could be the emergence of into cloud technologies. It could be like you're revisiting everything from bottom up. You might already be in a cloud environment, going into more of a hybrid cloud structure rather than a single cloud. It's transforming multiple tier technologies. So what is multiple business units into a common platform? It could be a SaaS-based platform, integrated with a PaaS-based platform, and some application IaaS. I'm seeing both in the US as well as in this side of the world. It's more correlating or more transforming themselves into more of a hybrid cloud strategy.
Interesting, because Prasanna, I think both you and Sesh very rightly hit upon this whole concept of, how radically changed market behaviors, consumer behavior, are also mandating you to transform the very way you look at the cloud. Now, when you look at these, I'm going to give you three variables, Prasanna. I'm going to give you data at one part. I'm going to give you a decomposed workplace and a digital workforce on the other. And I'm going to give you the multi-cloud architecture. When you kind of piece it all together, How, in your perspective, is your nuanced view on how you can drive more elasticity in being able to meet consumer demands or radically different consumer demands in the months or years to come with and by looking at multi-cloud as being the predominant architecture?
So, Arjun, I think a very good question. And if you look at our the next generation, or I would say example, my father, right? Father used to go and visit to the branch, right? And I used to go along with him. We have seen those transactions, right? We have to wait for some hours, and then you will be able to take out some money, and that's how we feel that the transaction is done, right? So that's how is the era we have spent around 3 to 4 hours to do just to extract money. At
Indeed.
times, if you have to pay out to a company during those days, we have to send a notification or call them ki tomorrow we're gonna come and take out the cash. And that is the era which we have seen in the physical world, right? And if you say in the current customer, I think say example, I had opened my bank account in a 30 days, and I was so happy the day I opened my bank account. I must have referred bank X to several people, right? At least for 7 days I was doing that. And today, if I ask my customer that instead of 30, chalo, I'll take 7 days and to open a bank account, still they will say, I think you are not up to the mark. I think it's a story of a 20 years what we have seen adoption of mobility, internet, adoption of various digital technologies. So wherein now customer is looking at a service there and there itself. And after I think pandemic and with the new technologies coming in like augmented reality, they will expect all of the services around them. Now coming back to your question around data and how do we really incentivize data to provide a better customer experience. That will drive my unidirectional banking to a bidirectional banking. Say example, I was going to the branch, I was going to the ATM, or I was going to my mobile banking app, right, to do some kind of a transaction. Tomorrow, if I'm adopting better data strategies wherein I can learn about the person as a customer and understand his transaction behaviors on a security perspective or a functional like personal finance robo advisory perspective, I can come back a bi-directional model wherein I can tell person, I think if you do these things, four things, I think your financial stability will be always green. Or if you invest this way, for a SME, I would say I can come back and say these are the loan facilities available based upon your business, which we have done in the last 12 months. I think you will not do better in the next 3 months. So coming back, if I, yeah,
Prasanna, I had a question to you there, which is
yeah.
therefore, do you feel that your ability to juggle workloads in a very judicious manner in a multi-hybrid cloud kind of orchestration or architecture helps you do this better?
Yes, absolutely. It will do the better if a monolithic architecture which I build it on my hardware, which is like a capacity build which I have done 2 years before or 1 year before, and all of a sudden I ask my infra head. I think data is huge. I think this data transition will have a multifold patterns, and I think we need more hard disk and more processing power. If I don't have that kind of architecture, I think I will have to wait for some time. By the time same customer can be moved somewhere, and I will not be able to understand right now. I think what I wanted to say that Arjun, that customer behavior is changing, and the pace of understanding of customer behavior, if you don't adopt right technology, and we say that no, I will call that customer and will tell him how many calls I will do, right, throughout the day with how many workforce. So that is how your workforce also has to be digitally transformed, so that they should know in my area there are these 50 SMEs and they need support. If I can go back and take out those printout, I think it will take months, years to really interact with each and everybody. Here, as a digital workforce, I get a nudge as on my app. These are the top 5 customers. I think you should really visit today, and you have a potential to do some business that could be for my employees. And at the same time, for a customer, they can also bring some kind of or app. My app can bring some additional some advice to them. Unless I have this computational power in the backend, or unless I have a right architecture, I think that is why cloud adoption is very, very important, so that cloud gives me that elasticity and agility to run those algorithms within definite time, right? Otherwise, if I depend upon those processor, I'm sure we had done some exercise in the past, and it took weeks for to come out those insight or understanding, or those narratives, or understanding of that data.
It's
And
very
if I bring those things on cloud, so
That's very
certainly I think,
because
yeah.
with your permission, I'm just going to bring that to Sesh. Sesh, I think what Prasanna has articulated has been very impactful from the simple reason that I think somewhere he's also articulated the fact that See, one of the things that organizations, industry perhaps, has fallen perhaps short of, if I may be allowed to, has been its ability to build continuity. And especially all the more so when we got hit smack in our faces by the disruption last year, no thanks to the COVID 19 pandemic. My question to you is, how does a well thought out, well crafted architecture that leverages all the potential benefits of multi cloud help organizations and industry build resilience as well as continuity?
See, one of the key elements, Prasanna talked about the architectural part of it. When you look at the business side of the house, I mean, agility standpoint from what you mentioned about, customer transformation and employee transformation are the two pillars that leads to uh, the overall or overarching effect of the overall emergence of new business models. That is one of the most key elements. See, earlier we were either looking at more of a customer transformation standpoint, or you would look at a more business process transform. Now it is a combination of a customer experience, employee experience, leading to the emergence of new business models. That plays a very critical role for that. The multi-tier cloud strategy is very critical. Having a strategic roadmap for a cloud transformation is the base for the evolvement of this cloud first strategy into evolving into new digital models.
Interesting. But Prasanna, if I could bring that to you, and we've still got about 15, 17 minutes in this segment, is I think both of you very articulately have expounded and expanded on the fact that the multi-cloud hybrid cloud architecture is a necessity because it's fairly existential in its nature. But my question to you equally, Prasad, and I will come to you first, is for organizations to approach this journey. It's a fascinating journey for sure.
Yes, yes.
It's also a very, very complex one.
Very, very.
There's multiple pitfalls, there's multiple
Yes.
challenges, a lot of nightmares, a lot of sweat and blood. In your view, what is your essential guidance on how organizations, IT leaders, CIOs should even blueprint and approach this whole journey?
I think it is very good question, I must say, Arjun. And the way we articulated at a DCB bank is, say, example, in 2014, we hardly had any mobile app. We hardly had an ESB or open banking kind of architecture. And most of the servers were on a managed data center, right? So that is how you can imagine how we really transform from that architecture to now with several mobile apps on several open banking initiatives or on we are on some of the cloud first applications. So now coming back, what we had done on at an organization level, we had a very good workflows. Say example, every organization should have some few champions who understand cloud or who should understand how infra should have a better roadmap considering what is happening outside of the bank. So that is very, very important. So we had that. So I think people part comes first, who understands how we have to create an agile architecture here onwards, how various things are going to change in the network, right? Today, earlier we had seen some kind of a wide area network. Today we have SD WANs and so on, right? So likewise, you should have a potential or capacity to convince your top management. This is how much investment we will require ahead of our customer journey or different business model which are gonna come in our life, right? And if you want to adopt better security policies, so on, I think people part comes first. Secondly, like you have to practice it out slowly, right? Say example, we had created at least 90-95% of our servers on virtualized environment. So today, if any UAT or testing comes to me and say, I want this environment to be created, it is available on the fly, right? So that's how the practice we have built internally at a creation of virtualization and skill sets around that. So that gives an incentivization. How do we migrate few of the applications on the cloud? So that's how it shows the journey. Third thing which we come up is that we didn't go on our core applications on the cloud. Why? Because our application service providers are not ready on the cloud. Say example, if I ask those core banking service providers like Infosys or TCS, do we have a cloud-based core banking? They will say, yes, we do have, but it is not that much matured ahead of what softwares which we have. Another aspect which we are studying or which we want or seek inputs from Shesh or experts like Shesh is that ROI, right? Suppose, say example, today Infosys comes and says, this is a cloud ready applications and all the SLAs of downtimes of my application along with the database, which is a combination, right? For a customer, its interface is internet banking, but internally it is a internet banking application provided by some service provider, database provided by some Oracle or application service provider, say IBM. So who is going to take care as a whole for the SLA of the downtime, right? So that kind of a calculation we had to explore, and there is some light from a cloud service provider also, right? But so what I want to say that before getting into that actual major applications migration on so what we had done, like say example, learning management which is on cloud, or last year we had adoption of digital first video KYC. So all of our KYC happens across the bank on a video, right? So which is I think that's another benefit that within a 15 days we were like, if I would have done that on premise, it would have taken, I think, 3 to 4 months with the complete life cycle, right?
No, that's
Development,
very,
QA,
very
UAT,
poignant,
and yeah.
because
Yeah. So I think go steady, create your skill set, uh, showcase your management. This is what we can do with small wins, and slowly adapt or be in touch with your ecosystem service providers. So and adopt some service players who can help you to migrate your traditional workloads into the cloud applications. So I
no, that's
think
very
this way we
interesting
can,
because that's
yeah.
precisely what I'm going to bring to you, Sesh. You see, Sesh, Prasanna just spoke about the whole concept of, being able to deploy, integrate, and make live within, let's say, 7 days as compared to, let's say, 70 days. Not that that means anything. But my question to you is, as increasingly your line of business leaders and equally lines of business leaders within organizations clamor for more efficiencies, does the role of the IT head or the CIO change dramatically or ease dramatically by virtue of deploying and integrating multi-cloud into the fabric of architecture transformation?
Two things to that. One, before I address that question, I'll going back to what Prasanna mentioned. So he is looking from a perspective of a consumer of IT services, a consumer of technology. If I look from the other side of the spectrum, from a consulting perspective, I would look at first the application portfolio assessment is very critical to look at the downstream KPIs and the TCO part. One, how critical are your applications right now from a customer experience standpoint, from an employee experience standpoint? And then I would look at an assessment both from top down, which is more of a business value related, as well as coming to that architecture top bottom up to look at the technological fit of multi-cloud architecture. Then I would identify what are those applications that are there where I may have to retire those applications, I may have to retain their application, or I might even re-engineer their applications into a multi-cloud platform. It could be, as I said earlier, a SaaS or a PaaS or an IaaS platform, leading to an emergence of new business model. I've seen a couple of clients where a digital transformation roadmap triggered the mindset of the customer to think differently in their business process and the business model redesign, leading from B2B customer to a B2C, opening up a channel of B2C as well. So I look at portfolio rationalization, defining then the business priorities and the technology priorities as a part of the overall strategic roadmap, and then look at the transformation strategy before I look at what is that Prasanna can take to his leadership as a business case to deploy first. As I said, the KYC could be one element of the business case to start with. Because today, you cannot go big bang, unlike what it was a couple of decades ago. Any transformation was a big bang 3 years. Today, the customers do not have that kind of a lack of better word, or their expectations is more in the way you turn around things in today's market. So I would look at a more strategic perspective driven by the pace of innovation, both in the banking and the manufacturing sector or MSMEs in India, is going through that. See, adaptability of technology or multi-cloud strategy, I would say, is still a positive part for banking industry or manufacturing. When you come to MSMEs, the adaptability of technology was a little slow over a period of time. So in the post-pandemic, when MSMEs got hit hard in the COVID-19, so that is where this cloud-first strategy has accelerated the pace in India, in Indian subcontinent at the least, I would say. even though globally it has taken almost like 56% growth has gone in the last 1.5 years in the adoption of the multi-cloud strategy. So earlier, you were either a SaaS or a PaaS. Now they're looking at more. Still, they're going through that portfolio rationalization as well. So when you look at the key performance indicators from a business perspective, and that what Prasanna mentioned about the total cost of ownership, it depends upon that particular business case, which is
Indeed.
driven by the overall strategic roadmap. How is that element? What element that, or where does it position itself in the overall strategic line of things?
Interesting, gentlemen. This has been. I mean, it's as we progress, it's becoming quite fascinating as we are getting involved. However, I do have a view on the clock, gentlemen, and I do know you've got schedules ahead. We've got about 5 minutes. Prasanna, I'm going to come to you pretty much in conclusion because both of you, in such supreme articulation, have fairly established the fact that the multi-cloud architecture or orchestration by itself is pretty much embedded within the very fabric of an organization's need to become hyper competitive, resilient, and of course, accelerate to value. When you look at it from the banking and the financial sector, Prasanna, what are those maybe two, three, or four perhaps business outcomes, measurable business outcomes that you're betting big or multi cloud orchestration that you have done to be able to positively impact in the months or the years to come?
Yeah, so I think as you rightly said, as the discussion is progressing, it is giving a lot of insights. So thanks to you and Shesh. So one thing I would say that if you look at the business outcomes, I would factor it into different areas. One area is around development where my engineering sits out of it, right? So I think most of the development which our developers were doing onto the standalone desktops or laptops, now that is moving onto the cloud, right? So that's the adoption which we have seen in the banking also. So say tomorrow developers will be doing on GitHubs or Azure or Google's with on Flutter. So I think all of these frameworks are now available on the cloud. We don't have to really carry and deploy it on your laptop or desktop. So you just have to create an instance and your development starts there on, right? That's the one area. Other area which we have seen on a DevOps and a AI ops, right? Where in a complete life cycle of a DevOps and followed by these days AI ops to monitor your applications. That is again we have seen some of the business model on a cloud, which is helping to understand how our application monitoring or network monitoring is going very nicely, right? So, and that is we have done some of the pilots on a business side where end user or we getting impact. Like I gave examples of the KYC or video KYC or some of those cloud or digital first, right? So these days on open banking, most of the banks, right, the bank who has a better architecture started collaborating. And what we see that phone pays, Google pays, or any of those Grow or Open Money or a Cred, all of these are pumped by some kind of a API and this thing, right? So in a combination is a cloud plus managed data center, which is at the banks, and the banks will showcase that we are on cloud first. Why? Because of this fintech company. So with a better security, I think that's another way to really. So I think RBI is coming with a lot of security guidelines, which will help and which is already helping on this overall cycle. And now I'll give another perspective how is going to happen in the future. Most of the banking, what we have seen was a unidirectional or a bidirectional or a relatively only to one bank, right? But tomorrow, as a customer, I will look at a service, a banking service in that super app platform, right? Where will have a healthcare, I will have insurance, I will have a entertainment, food, hotel, everything. The way we have seen on Paytms, or there are some of the apps outside of India or in So all of these connectors are on their own platforms. They're on their own clouds, right? So how do we really create that kind of a trust between all the systems? So
That's
I
very
think there you will see adoption of a blockchain and the AI very heavily. So in the backend, how do we really create those smart contracts if my car got stuck in an accident and immediately insurance payout happens, wherein that whole network of a transaction, the whole transaction will have a network from your digital identity where your bank account is mapped to that insurance company, to that car company. So these kind of architectures we will see in the future. So that is a marketplace, like aggregation economy. That is what we'll see, or sharing economy. So I think when we are in that era in the next 4 5 years, so I think we will not ask these questions, Arjun. So I think we'll have to be in that game and
Hey,
Take help from Shesh. How do you really make it happen? Yeah.
Desh, therefore, in conclusion, I come to you finally in asking you pretty much what I asked. How do you see organizations, Indian industry, crafting the intelligent enterprises of tomorrow, being able to value accelerate with multi-cloud embedded into the very fabric of architecture?
So as a part of this, that leads to a more of a coherent business IT value being derived rather than just an IT part of it. So I see there will be at least 50 plus percentage of enhanced utilization of the public cloud going forward. So many of the companies have invested over a period of time, but there is no optimum utilization. And this would apparently lead to enhanced automation, leading to intelligence enterprises having a more than 25% savings in their total cost of ownership, 80% of automation in the business processes, re-engineered their existing legacy, multiple legacy applications into more of a multi-cloud tier approach, thereby helping to streamline their business models, enhancing their customer efficiency or customer experience, helping the organizations to uh, develop or release products more than 40% quicker than what they were doing earlier. The product life cycle will shorten up due to the emergence of platform models as well as open innovation models. So now everything need not be driven from inside. It is no more an inside out application. It is more of an outside in approach where you onto a common platform. Say for example, let's take an example of Goldman Sachs. Initially, Goldman Sachs emerged with a platform-driven product platform, which has apparently opened up for other banking companies in the US. So the competition now doesn't mean that you're not leveraging the technology of another company. You have your own products. The customer goes to a platform exchange. Similarly, Best Buy transformed themselves in the US from being a laggard into more of a platform-driven, a digital-driven strategy companies. And I've seen another one in the Silicon Valley where they emerged in a post-merger integration, an emergence of a platform-driven business model from B2B to B2C.
Well, that's fantastically articulated, gentlemen. But much as I think this is a conversation that can call for at least a couple of hours in dialogue, and of course, 3 cups of coffee on the side. That pretty much is what we have time for in this segment. Prasanna says it has been nothing short of a privilege having been in dialogue with you. Thank you so very
Sure.
much.
Thank you, Arjun. Thank you, Shesh. Great meeting,
Thanks.
guys. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the audience, that was I, Arjun Vishwanathan, your host in conversation with Prasanna Lohar from DCB Bank and Seish Parigi from Tech Mahindra. Stay tuned with us, and we'll be back with the next segment in just a moment.
Wow, what a fantastic and thought provoking session. Thank you very much, Seish, Prasanna, and Arjun. Ladies and gentlemen, the keywords in today's transformative digital economy are going to be hyperspeed and hyperscale. In our upcoming segment titled Strategy in Motion, we're going to hear from leaders on formulating and implementing strategies to transform large organizations with complex IT environments. And I'd like to welcome Mr. Sushil Mukherjee, SPS Director, Enterprise Northwest and Global Inbound, Dell Technologies, Mr. Debushish Magji, co-founder and managing director, DRS IT Consultancy, and to moderate the session, I'll welcome Mr. Arjun Vishwanathan, Chief Research Officer, Strategy. Over to you, Arjun.
Hello and welcome. My name is Arjun Vishwanathan, and I today am going to be in conversation with two very, very eminent folks from within industry to talk about how a growing need for Indian industry is today agility, resilience, the ability to build continuity, to build connectivity, and last but not the least, accelerate journeys towards value orientation for stakeholders, and of course, build more experiential journeys for customers. And within this, one of the things that are perhaps critical is for organizations to train their focus on creating agility and equally revamping and reimagining operational models that perhaps are in dire need for modernization. And to join me in dialogue, please put your hands together for Sushim Mukherjee, Director Platforms and Solutions, Dell Technologies. Sushim, welcome, and we are privileged to have you with us.
Thank you, Arjun. Thanks for having me.
And Devashish Maji, the Managing Director and Co-founder for the DRS IT Consultancy Private Limited. Devashish, welcome and delighted that you could join us.
Thanks, Arjun. My pleasure.
Thank you, gentlemen. We've got about a 30-minute segment which promises to be truly interesting because, Sushim, I'm going to directly come to you. If the backdrop of the last 16, 17, 18 months now have provided any lessons to us, they have been that Indian industry has by and large faced multiple challenges. But amongst these challenges have also cropped up immense opportunities for organizations to drive towards, like I mentioned, a dire need for business modernization. Now, Sushim, you are at the center of creating technology and enabling, deploying, and integrating it for organizations to drive their value acceleration journeys. How do you see the convergence or the confluence of the multi-cloud architecture with value orientation and business modernization kind of piecing together as you speak to customers and with your, of course, the spectrum of visibility that you have? Sushim Mukherjee.
I'm glad you bring this up, Arjun. And instead of relating some very hypothetical use cases, let me give you a peek into how our own internal IT at Dell Digital really approached this multi-cloud journey, right? Now, given our massive scale of operations, which is supporting 145,000 users, 78,000 VMs, which is spread across 22 data centers and spanning 2,800 plus applications, right? We firmly believe that it's all about the three pillars of people, process, and technology, right? A multi-cloud approach that drives up the app modernization, which we see panning on a continuum of say 6 elements, right? Which is spread across. I would put it in two buckets of say the existing workloads, right? And B is the cloud native workloads which we see, right? So now, if you look at a bucket one of the existing workloads, from an existing workload perspective, it meant we needed to decide on which of those applications we needed to maintain, which involves keeping an app in an as is existing environment. Second was replatform, which involved keeping an app as is, but moving it to a new environment, right? And the third was adopt a multi-tier hybrid environment, which shifts the portion of some of these multi-tier apps to the public cloud, right? So here, essentially, the intent was to how can we reduce cost, enhance the security, and yet maintain reliability and control on the data consistency part of it, right? Now, from the second bucket perspective, in a cloud native workload environment, it meant we needed to decide on which of those applications we needed to refactor, which included modifying an app and or a new environment for deployment of an on-prem or in the cloud kind of basis, right? The second was developing for the cloud, which includes a new cloud native app that is containerized and deployed on-prem and also as an infrastructure as a service and an IaaS model, right? And finally, we also wanted to identify which are those applications which have lived their life which needs a replacement, right? Now, this involves moving to typically a SaaS version of a packaged application like we all have moved from Exchange to O365, right? So these were the 6 elements which we saw here. And in the second bucket, we saw that the intent was to how to fasten the time to market, leverage our continuous innovations from our fantastic in-house engineering labs, and yet maintain the scale and the differentiation depending on the landing zones that are most appropriate for these aforementioned workloads, and leverage our entire spectrum of the industry's, I think, the deepest and the widest infrastructure portfolio that is there to achieve, right? Now, while this is a very continuous improvement program, what we did achieve till date was to have about 500 plus applications migrated to a private cloud. And in the process, we have retired 200 plus applications. Now, with regards to the 3 pillars which I mentioned, effectively from a technology perspective, we could enhance self-service capabilities with about 10 to 30% higher utilization rates. From a process standpoint, we had 30% reduced user incidents. And from a people impact, we had our internal IT pulse scores rating clearly hitting all-time highs.
That's
so
a
while
fascinating
we as Dell
story.
Technologies,
That's very
propagate,
fascinating, Sushim.
yeah,
But with your permission, I must, because a couple of things that you mentioned do merit. Devashish, I want to come to you with this question.
Sure.
Sushim supremely articulated this concept of how efficiencies have been increasingly built in. Now, my question to you, Devashish, is in your experience, expertise, and in your articulation, what is your very nuanced view of how, as organizations progress towards business modernization, something that Sushim spoke about, their ability to view workloads with a very futuristic perspective also becomes critical. In that kind of a scenario, how do you see the multi-cloud journey evolving within the scheme of things within Indian industry? Devashish Maji.
Uh, Thank you. Thanks again, Arjun. So, as rightly, articulated by Shishir as well. So the thing is like, people are already using multi-cloud environment from quite a few time presently. But having said that, the adaptability is not as much as like it was, coming from past 16, 18 months. Because during this particular journey, people are not able to, go to their offices, not able to access the data centers in person. And for any particular reason, when I'm talking about, so it is something like that when they have to run the show at the end of the day. Whatever the organizations, whatever, be it a manufacturing industry, be it whosoever is the vertical is, they have to run their show at any point of time. And that is where the most important part of multi-cloud journey or the hybrid cloud journey comes in picture. And we as an organization, when we used to talk to our customers, they have shown that kind of pain in their performance when they feel in this particular fashion that how we people can manage these kind of epidemics, or let's say, because earlier they used to talk only about a DCDR, because that disaster recovery or the disaster continuity, they need to build up only because if suppose there is some kind of tragedy happens. But this is a massive tragedy which nobody has articulated in this particular time actually. So what they have also gone into, like, they need this infrastructure to be built in such a fashion so that in case if suppose their users or their workers are looking for any kind of a new application which is going to be incorporated into their system, so it should be their entire system should be as agile, so that they can do it in a fraction of a minute basically. They don't want to have to again go back to for a normal kind of a scenario to procure all the hardwares and to do all their stuffs what they used to do earlier basically. So what I believe that this particular, let's say, the hybrid journey, people are already going into, and they are already using multiple applications presently. Likewise, Shishir has already told that moving from their on-premise applications to their Office 365 things. So these are these are already people are adapting actually. So
That's interesting. Devashish, that's very interesting because Sushim, I want to come to you with this, with then a supplementary to this is you, both of you, in very fine articulation, have established the fact that the ability to modernize perhaps has increased adoption of technology at its very core. However, I'd like to move a step further, and multi-cloud is perhaps, in my articulation, less technology as much as it is about a digitally native way of thinking. Sushim Mukherjee, my question to you, therefore, is at Dell, and from your perspective at Dell Technologies, what is your guidance to organizations on being able to couple the orchestration of the architecture of multi-cloud with business outcomes? Because at the end of the day, that's what matters. Technology for the sake of technology is great, but we've moved past those times. How do you at Dell help organizations piece together the adoption of technology with generating and attaining those business outcomes that are imperative?
So, let me take a step back as well, with your permission as well. In terms of the cloud approach, what we have really firmly believed is that it's not a destination that we are trying to reach, right? It's more of an operating model that we look at. Also that, it is not any longer a conversation of either being public, private, but, it's the more strategic use of the hybrid cloud, which is what we are seeing. Therefore, it's very important to note, the three physical laws that will really impact this digital multi-cloud going into the future. And those are typically the laws of physics, the laws of economics, and the laws of land. And let me just explain a bit more on how we are looking at each of these pillars, right? Now, with laws of physics, we look at the data gravity. So, with the humongous volumes of data that we are seeing, it is a very wise strategy for compute power to really gravitate towards the source of that data, which is typically increasingly the edge locations that we see, right? In laws of economics, we are seeing that the consumption economics versus the capital heavy investments have trade-offs, and depending on the usage profiles and the consumption base, it can also quickly become quite cost prohibitive. Hence, at Dell Technologies, we have not only been looking at very flexible technical deployment options for all our solution platforms, but also presenting them with an optimized consumption model in conjunction with our Dell Financial Services organization, and the recent announcement of our exciting Apex offerings, which is going to be coming underway in a big way, going into the next year. And lastly, we are increasingly conscious of the laws of the land, right? Compliance, data sovereignty, that adds a new wrinkle to this cloud. As organizations and governments have become more data savvy, the requirements to protect it have become that much more advanced. This means data which could flow quite freely across borders or get exposed might now, but now by legal decree itself be quite constrained, right? So the implications of getting it wrong, it can be quite severe, and as such must have a consideration when we try and make decisions on where the workloads really need to reside, right? But the narrative that the data centers are going away, and it's completely turned out to be false. We have seen 92% of the respondents to an ESG research that we did, still preferred. About 77% of the respondents said, let's have the workloads back on prem, which is popularly being called as the cloud repatriation journey, which many customers have embarked on. Now, this isn't to say, that the public cloud is not working, but rather that, the organizations are realizing certain business application requirements can create that dynamic where the workloads is best suited when, it is kept on premise, for instance, right? And let me, just tell you how, we are looking at the valuing the consistency of this infrastructure, which is what customers are today really worried about. And let me enumerate quickly, a customer reference which we did at Sigain INC, which is kind of a money transfer services organization. It operates into 130 countries across Latin America and Mexico. Now, because the customer couldn't really operate fast enough, given their on-prem infrastructure consisting of a host of storage products, compute products, they thought probably going into just AWS lock stock barrel might be the answer. But guess what? Within less than 3 years, they realized they were paying more than $100K per month, and it was growing at the rate of 50% year on year, right? So they then approached Dell's platform solutions team, and we discussed on the ability to really implement an on-prem cloud-like operating model with highly automated HCI technology at the back end, and complete this consolidation of the environment, which would save them kind of millions of dollars, right? So we used a very meticulous business value assessment. This is a very mature tool that we use internally, which measures every metric associated with the customer's current business on an as-is model. And then we compared it with what we were trying to propose with the VxRail architecture, and ended up showing that there is a whopping savings of 1,245% ROI and a $16.8 million net benefits in the overall proposal, right? And this solution was rightly comprised of our hyperconverged solution, which is the industry's leading platform, obviously combined with the VMware licensing, all centrally managed through a VxWell manager interface, which is very similar to the vCenter experience which customer had. All ended up trying to help them reduce the real time to market, right?
That's
And
a
that was the benefit.
fantastic point, Sushin. That's a fantastic point, and I'm genuinely
Right.
grateful that you brought that up. Because Devashish, I want to come to you. Increasingly, and once of organizations seem to have kind of started work in large fashion. One of the mandates or the imperatives or the requirement from lines of business leaders as well as the corner offices for most IT folks has been the need to drive higher efficiencies. See, Sushim just very beautifully articulated how transformational outcomes had been made possible by virtue of looking at a beautiful convergence of technology with business requirements. In your view, Devashish, how do you see multi-cloud orchestration and the deployment of technology driving efficiencies for lines of business leaders today?
So, see, the what Shushim has told, I totally agree with him, because at the end of the day, it is the technology which is driving the the entire show actually.
It was very difficult
So,
to argue with the numbers that he did place on record. So I
sure.
do agree with you.
So, having said that, so in this time as well, so wherein the customers who are already into those three-tier architecture, they are also trying to move from those initial three-tier architecture to the hybrid configuration, with the hyper converged infrastructure. Why? Because they want that agility built in within themselves, basically. Because now the application team, now they are the development team are so working so hard on that perspective, that they require, every time they require their infrastructure to be ready. Because earlier it used to be, it has some time frame, that okay, after this particular time frame they need this particular application to get up actually. But now, all having said the entire having seen the entire scenario, how the business is changing also day by day, depending on your current market scenario. So people used to take these kind of activities, these kind of infrastructure values in such a level, so that they can able to deploy their applications at the quickest possible time, so that their users are not getting hampered, and their business is not also not getting hampered in this particular scenario. So, having said that, even within this 16-18 months, we people have deployed in few of our customers in this particular difficult time as well. They have shown us that value addition. We people have shown them that particular, why they should choose the hyper converged infrastructure rather than for a normal three-tier architecture, which might not help them in a long run actually. And having said that, there are many like examples wherein people are moving out from a public cloud to their own the private
The
cloud
entire
part.
repatriation is certainly to be observed.
Exactly. And having said that, there are few challenges also, because within India also, you suppose, because we people are working in some remote areas as well. So wherein the connectivity is also a very big issue. So, having said that, in case if their applications are also running up and running, in case if suppose they are not able to, get through those particular applications, it is useless for them. So, at the end of the day, they need to have their own infrastructure, IT infrastructures. Obviously, they are also looking for certain applications which are in clouds as well. But having said that, their internal IT is also doing very much on a productivity model, because right now those PaaS models are coming up. And also having the money basically, because at the end of the day, when you people are spending dollars at the end of the day to run your particular show. So management should also feel that, in case if suppose that is in our own premises, it will be much more better. And having said that, there are certain the cyber security laws are also which are coming up in today's thing. So wherein people think that having a hybrid model, and also having an infrastructure which can scale up to their level, so that is something which is much more important.
Very, very finely put. Because Sushim, I do have a view on the clock, gentlemen. Is the hybrid cloud architecture the ability to transform workloads, the ability to therefore generate vast levels of efficiency stands extremely well established, both thanks to your narrative as well as Debashish's. For organizations to adopt this journey in more enthusiastic fashion, because the possibilities are immense, is a fascinating journey for sure, but it's also a very, very complex one. It's not classically the traditional snap of the fingers. From your perspective at Dell Technologies, and plus in your conversations, multiple copious conversations with customers, Sushim, what is your guidance to them on how Dell is partnering them in even approaching this journey, even blueprinting this journey? Because while, like Debashish said, there are immense opportunities, but there are also pitfalls. that must be avoided? How do you bring forth and bear out your experience at Dell Technologies to be able to help industry fashion more resolute journeys ahead in multi-cloud adoption? Sushil Mukherjee.
So, Arjun, to give you a view on this, let me relate to what a lot of customers are today looking for, right? What they're looking for is a fully integrated operational hub for their hybrid cloud journey. Now, one approach, and it's one of the approaches, right, is what we term as the Dell Technologies Cloud Platform, which is with VMware Cloud Foundation on our VxRail platform. That's an offering that helps provide customers with a very simple, consistent, secure, and a consumable experience for enabling their IT transformation. Now, it builds upon the native VxRail and Cloud Foundation capabilities with additional unique Dell technologies and VMware jointly integrated engineered features to help simplify, streamline, and automate the operations of your software-defined data center, to say so, before and on the day zero, all the way going up to your day two operations, right? Now, the Dell Technologies Cloud Platform delivers a very simple and direct path to the hybrid cloud and Kubernetes at cloud scale with one complete automated platform. This means you get both the HCI infrastructure and the cloud platform software stack in one complete integrated automated lifecycle managed turnkey experience, right? And that is what is the key what customers are looking for. Now, the platform delivers a set of software-defined services from a compute layer with the vSphere, vCenter, storage looking at the vSAN, networking with the NSX, security, cloud management with your vRealize suite, end-user computing services with VMware Horizon and App Volumes, and container-based cloud-native platform services for the new age DevOps workloads with VMware vSphere 7 and Kubernetes on Tanzu, Kubernetes Grid, both in the private or the public environments, making it a complete operational hub for your hybrid cloud. Now, to accelerate your move to containers and a hybrid cloud operating model, Dell Technologies offers unique integration between the VMware Cloud Foundation and the VxRail that supports the complete simultaneous VM and container-based workload across these multiple cloud environments, right? Now, what this DTCP really does is it makes the operating the data center fundamentally simpler by bringing the ease of automation of the public cloud experience in-house, and then deploying a standardized and validated network flexible architecture that is validated on a very continuous basis with built-in full stack lifecycle automation for the entire cloud infrastructure stack, including the hardware, right? And there's more, because security is one of the top priorities of the customers in their data center or otherwise, as you see, right? And Cloud Foundation on VxRail includes this end-to-end security built into every layer of the infrastructure, from the compute and the management security to the micro-segmentation of the networking layer to the encryption at the storage layer, which is required. So getting security right down up to the wire, right? All of this, with available single vendor support call to Dell Technologies, kind of gives you a complete choice of this infrastructure with the flexible financial consumption options, which I mentioned earlier, and thus looking at this extending this to, if required, to public cloud as well, right? So VMware Cloud Foundation can be consumed as a service through our cloud service provider partner ecosystem, including VMware Cloud on AWS, Azure, Google, IBM, Rackspace, and others, and enabling a true hybrid cloud and a common operating compatible platform that stretches from an on-prem to off-prem for your VMs and your containerized modern apps. That's the messaging which we are doing on a day in day out basis to all our
Fantastic,
customers.
and that's actually
I
quite
think that's
robust because Devashish, I do have a view on the clock. We've got 5 minutes. I do want to squeeze in one very important question. Is we just heard Sushim very, very powerfully and impactfully articulate the offerings, the innovation that's coming from Dell Technologies. If you were to complement this, and in as a supplementary or in continuation to my earlier question, what is it beyond this perhaps that you see industry IT leaders, lines of business leaders perhaps requiring in the months and the years to come, that you think that OEMs such as Dell, VMware, and of course the overall partner ecosystem should focus on? So my question to you is really, what is the requirement set from industry today, looking into tomorrow, that you feel are going to be increasingly more important, apart from what Sushim just articulated?
So, first and foremost, implementing these kind of the application, these kind of infrastructure into a customer premises requires a lot of technology, which Sushim has already shown. So we as a partner, what value addition which we people are giving it to our customers is on that front, to move their journey, to move ahead in implementing these kind of solutions at the customer premises, and to help them out day in day out. So wherein it is something like a hand holding to those particular customers to their cloud journey. Initially, presently also, they are using many different infrastructures in their premises perhaps. But having said that, to move ahead from your three-tier normal architecture to a hybrid cloud architecture, it requires a lot of inherent technology. So it might be possible that every customers might not have that mindset of taking the entire load on themselves, rather than to outsource it to somebody who has that particular knowledge, who has already implemented those kind of solutions. So either it will be to their OEMs or through some partners basically. So we as a partner, we try to help our customers to move to that particular journey, so that they can use, they can feel the difference, that what exactly they are missing out when they are not implementing these kind of technologies. So that is where we people are. So, and implementing a multi-cloud strategy requires a high degree of clarity basically. So it is not something like that you can go and you can give your chance to do what you want to. So having said that, there are different kind of workloads. So there are 10 different calculations which are happening before providing it to the actual scenario, that how your applications will behave. Because seeing the different kind of applications, seeing their having said their whether those are like a RAM hungry applications or a CPU hungry applications, we need to devise their the entire hardening of the hardwares as well. So on that perspective, we use to help our customers by giving them that flexibility to move ahead and to build their own cloud journey, so that in future, in case if god forbid these kind of things will not
God for
go ahead. Exactly. So having said that, but still they want to make sure that their business should be 100% up and running, in spite of the fact that whether people are coming to the office or whether they are able to log into this office premises or not. Still there there should be a 100% resiliency from wherever they want to run their business. It should be 100% perfect.
No, that's absolutely said, because I think as we draw to a close, because that's pretty much what we have time in this segment for, is the keywords, Sushim, Devashish, clearly seem to be that in this transformative digital economy of sorts, the keywords or the buzzwords or those imperatives are going to be hyperspeed and hyperscale. And as
Exactly.
long as organizations with complex IT environments continue to exist, CIOs and IT leaders must plan for this journey with the levels of clarity that you articulated. And the business needs, challenges, and the inflection of value that organizations seek promises to lie at disruption at scale. But gentlemen, it has been nothing short of fascinating speaking with you. I stand truly much the better having heard your very nuanced views and your very, very rich experience. Thank you, Sushim, for making time out to join us today. Equally, Debashish, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Arjun.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Arjun. Thanks for having us.
You.
Thank you.
And I'm sure for the audience, you would have loved hearing that dialogue, as peppered as it was with business outcomes and technology's convergence on the confluence, as it were, coming together to forge and help Indian industry forge more resolute and confident journeys ahead. That was I, Arjun Vishwanathan, your host, in conversation with Sushim Mukherjee from Dell Technologies and Devashish Maji from DRS IT Consultancy. That's pretty much from our side, folks. Stay tuned and we'll be back in just a moment.
Thank you very much, Sushim, Debashish, and Arjun. It was indeed an encouraging and engaging discussion. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the conclusion of today's episode. I hope you found this episode of the Digital Dialogues informative and useful. I would request you to please take a few moments of your time and fill in the feedback form. We'd love to hear your feedback or suggestions as it helps us enhance the content and structure of our conferences. I thank you once again, everybody, for joining us on behalf of Dell Technologies, Tech Data, and Strategy. And I look forward to seeing you at our upcoming conferences. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great day ahead.